UFC 311. We are about to see Islam Makhachev take on what could be his last obvious and legitimate contender at 155 in Arman Tsarukyan. This will be the second time these guys have faced off, and going off Arman's recent performances, this one promises to be way more challenging for Islam Makhachev. In the co-main event, Makhachev will face undefeated 18-0 Umar Nurmagomedov as he tries to legitimize himself as the bantamweight champion with his first title defense. Kicking off the main card, we've got trailblazer Kevin Holland welcoming former 1FC 2-division champion Derrida to the UFC pay-per-view stage in a middleweight bout. Kevin Holland continues to maintain his status as a reliable company man with a patchy history of success in the cage. His most recent outing saw him lose via TKO at the end of the first round due to a cracked rib that was imposed in one of the ground exchanges between himself and Roman Dolidze. Prior to that, we saw Kevin Holland put on a performance of the night-worthy victory where he submitted Michal Oleksiejczuk via armbar in 1 minute and 34 seconds of the first round. Holland faces Derrida, who has earned his place on the main card opener after winning his UFC debut against Meerschaert back in November at the Apex. Derrida outstruck Meerschaert across all 3 rounds and eventually went on to successfully submit him in the third via an arm triangle. Now, Holland's most obvious path to victory is going to be to entertain a fight on the feet while trying to stuff the takedown. And the question we've got to ask is, will Derrida be able to impose that constant threat of the takedown successfully, and will he even get that submission, as Holland has proved before that he's not the easiest guy to submit. Next up, we have Beneil Dariush and Renato Moicano clashing in a bout that will probably define the trajectory of both fighters' careers. Dariush was once on an insane 8-fight win streak at lightweight and was probably recognised as the most worthy recipient of a title shot at one point. Since then though, Dariush's title shot credibility has been questioned pretty heavily in his last 2 bouts. At UFC 289 first, where he lost to Charles Oliveira via TKO in the first, and then again against Arman Tsarukyan last year at a fight night in Texas. Moicano, however, has been on a more positive run of form, winning his last 4 and 6 of his last 7 in total, with his only loss coming against RDA UFC 272 back in 2022. Moicano most recently impressed in his most recent main event at UFC Paris against Benoit Saint-Denis, where the fight was stopped at the end of round 2. Moicano outstruck BSD 72-35 across 2 rounds, 50 of which were declared significant strikes officially to BSD's 25. Moicano's most recent performances might suggest that he is having a late career realization of his full potential as a fighter, while Dariush will be looking to manage a turnaround of his own form at UFC 311. Moicano's recent form, however, has led most to believing that he will claim victory once more against Dariush, basically by any means he sees fit. Next up, we got Jiri Prochazka taking on Jamal Hill, and both these guys actually have a lot in common in that they were both knocked out by Alex Pereira in their last fight, and they both played their own role in facilitating the merry-go-round of the light heavyweight belt before the reign of Alex Pereira. Jiri Prochazka's current record in the UFC is 4 wins and 2 losses, with both losses coming by way of knockout. Jiri had to put his marauder characteristics on display after receiving 17 leg kicks from Rakic in the first round, and then eventually go on to beat him by a TKO in the second. Prior to facing Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill had earned the respect of many fans on his title run, going 5-1 and his only defeat coming via a nasty armbar submission against Paul Craig in his 4th fight in the UFC. Since beating Glover Teixeira and eventually vacating the belt due to injury, Hill has only fought once, losing to Alex Pereira via knockout in the first round of the UFC 300 main event. While it would seem that most of the MMA community wants to see Jiri win and ultimately silence Jamal Hill, I think the skill set of Hill is being somewhat overlooked, as he's still a talented striker who carries a lot of power in his punches. This fight is my fight of the night pick, and it's very tough to call, but for the differential pick, I'm probably going to have to go with Hill just to go against the grain. The co-main event of UFC 311 will feature a bantamweight championship fight between Merab Dvalishvili and undefeated number 2 bantamweight contender Umar Nurmagomedov. Merab is currently on an 11-fight win streak in the UFC, while Umar remains undefeated as a professional MMA fighter. Merab's last 3 performances all resulted in his hand being raised by way of unanimous decision, and in all of these fights he's displayed otherworldly cardio, which has become one of the defining features of Merab as a fighter. Even though some consider his output on the feet lackluster and even his significant strike output on the ground leaving more to be desired, Merab's persistence in looking for the takedown cannot be overlooked, and he's outclassed fighters with outstanding wrestling and takedown defense credentials such as Aldo, Piotr Jan, and Henry Cejudo. Umar Nurmagomedov has most recently impressed against Corey Sandhagen in Saudi Arabia back in August 2024. Early in the fight, Sandhagen displayed impressive takedown defense, but it really seemed like Corey was going to claim success with his own skills on the feet, given Umar had to work so hard just to earn the takedown. Corey only earned the first round on one of the judges' scorecards and the second on another, but didn't claim any other round throughout the entire fight. Umar began to pull away after the second, claiming rounds of takedown pressure, striking speed, and relentless volume, which eventually saw him get his hand raised in the end. Many performances in the past between two fighters with heavy wrestling backgrounds will suggest that this fight will mostly take place on the feet, and with that in mind, I'll have to favour Umar Nurmagomedov, as Merab's danger on the feet still leaves a lot to be desired. This card, of course, is headlined by Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan for the lightweight title, and it's probably been one of the most anticipated matchups in the UFC, let alone the lightweight division. The official current pound-for-pound number one, Islam Makhachev, has continuously improved throughout his career and is well on his way to fortifying his own claims as the GOAT of the lightweight division. His two most recent victories say it all really. A first round head kick KO against one of the best fighters in the world in Alex Volkanovski, and a superior striking showcase against one of the best boxers in Dustin Poirier before eventually submitting him in the 5th round, really leaves nothing else to be said about just why Islam Makhachev is so good. During his title reign, Arman Tsarukyan has been the only lightweight contender to put together enough impressive wins to earn himself a shot as the bona fide title challenger. Most recently knocking out Beneil Dariush in the UFC Fight Night main event back in December 2023, and winning a decision over Charles Oliveira at UFC 300, has led many to believe that Arman has more to offer in his second showing against Islam Makhachev. While Arman had some mixed success and faced some adversity in the first original bout against Makhachev, it's easy to forget that he was fighting the eventual pound-for-pound number one on his debut and on short notice, and he's since put on an impressive string of performances. But that all being said, I still think Makhachev's characteristics and skill as a fighter should be enough to earn him the victory, and his record-breaking 4th title defense at lightweight. I think this fight could go how the Islam and Charles Oliveira fight went, in that there might be a submission in the first couple of rounds, or I could see this being a tightly contested 5-round war, but I would still favour Islam in getting his hand raised if the verdict of the fight falls into the hands of the judges. Hope you all enjoyed and are looking forward to UFC 311. If you care for them, my main card picks are on screen now. Let me know your own thoughts on the fights below and if you agree or disagree with any of the takes throughout the video.